The video shows Robbie Stratton running through a convenience store with an alligator in his hands. He takes the animal in the beer fridge as well.
I don't even remember coming up here.
We asked Stratton where the alligator came from.
No clue. No clue. This store sells some good liquor. And I drank a lot of it that night. They told me what I did was stupid, and I'll be facing some charges here soon, and probably go to jail, probably not. We'll see.
TBTL.
When I eat hot Cheetos, I get crazy. I just love hot Cheetos! I love them so much!
Ooh, Daddy's gonna dish out some daddy discipline. As a fellow daddy, I approve.
Stop saying daddy.
You got it, Papa Bear.
I'm not handling this well. I don't feel competent. I'm depressed.
We're the #1 show in hospitals and on sinking riverboat casinos.
This is not your mama's podcast. This is Too Beautiful to Live.
All right, hello, good morning, and welcome everyone to a Monday edition of TBTL, the show that just might be too beautiful to live.
You're still doing a podcast?
My name is Luke Burbank. I'm your host.
I'm a professional. Look it up in the book.
Coming to you from the Madrona Hills studio, perched high above the mighty and today muddy Columbia. With all the rain we've been having, things have gotten somewhat sedimentary down there, but nonetheless, it's actually going to be a pretty nice day. It might get to 70 degrees around here.
I feel warm and I'm levitating.
A welcome change of pace here in southern Washington compared to what we've had of late. Here we are, folks. We made it. It's episode 4684 in a collector's series.
Let the fun begin.
And we have a lot to talk about. Last night was the Oscars.
You want showmanship? You got it.
Hosted by Conan. Honestly, the awards seemed like they generally went to the people who were expected to get the specific awards. I did not really watch the Oscars last night. I was too busy watching a DVD of a mystery show from New Zealand that my mother rented from the library. More on that in a minute. But there was kind of a breakout star, or at least somebody that we really like, who was featured prominently at the Oscars. We'll talk about that. Speaking of showmanship, I witnessed something called Hyprov this weekend. That would be people who were under hypnosis doing improv. And it was something. It was something else, I'll tell you. We've also got a special guest who's going to say hello today.
This is special. This is special.
But we first have to, of course, say hi to this feller, longest-running Cobra of the show, maybe best known for his depictions of the tall ships. He's also known in some places as Mr.
Unlimited.
He's Andrew Walsh, and he's joining me right now. Good morning, my friend.
Yes, I can hear you, Clem Fandango. Sorry, I understand there's a lot of Clem Fandango energy at the Oscars last night.
Well, there was. I mean, you know what? Let's talk. It was Matt Berry. The cat's out of the bag. The Matt's out of the bag. Let's talk about that in a little bit, because I will play you what I thought was the best. It was quick. It was fleeting. But the best bit from Matt Berry last night. I was going, as I told you before the show, I was going to play you just him saying people's names because, of course, there's a lot of flourish. But the friggin' audio mix. The Oscars should not win the Oscar for audio mix because it was crazy. Like, the music is so loud, you could barely hear the announcer during, like, half of it.
Hey, you were telling me that before the show, and I'd forgotten. I was not plugged into the Oscars at all yesterday, but I did see a post on Blue Sky right as it was beginning, Luke, if you want some validation here. Somebody who was saying, what is wrong with the mix? I don't know if you were seeing that on your socials as well. But
no, I wasn't.
Other people, at least one other person who I don't believe even works in the audio industry, although I don't know for sure, was also calling out the fact somebody wrote, like, this is not my sound bar. This is you, Oscars. So there's your validation for a Monday morning.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll give myself a little ding there. That feels good on a Monday morning. Hey, check it out. Look who's here.
I say, what's up, dog?
It is the one and the only, my longest-running free tenant who lives in my house, my mother, Susie Burbank. Hi, Mom.
Hey, Luke. Hey, Tens.
Hello, Susie B.
No hi to Andrew. Just hi to the Tens.
No,
You're going right over
past
Andrew's
me.
head.
Hi, Andrew.
It's like living in L.A. again.
I know. She's looking over your shoulder for the more important person that she should be talking to.
That's true.
How you doing, Mama?
Doing well. Yeah. Well, better, I should say. Better.
Because of your back?
Yeah.
What's been going on with your back?
So Saturday morning, we were leaving to go stop here and then go to a wedding. and I picked up something the wrong way off the floor, and it just tweaked my back. And so it hasn't been normal since.
Has the hot pad helped, and did the sciatica flossing that I taught you about last night help?
Well, I slept well last night, so I think it did help. But then once I get out of that reclining position, it's like pain. But once I start walking, I'm okay. So it's just kind of, it's getting better, but it's not perfect yet.
This is going to sound like a technical question, but I'm quite serious about it. Was it like too heavy of an object, or was it just one of those weird things where you just
it was like
twisted?
A coin. It was like a dime or something.
I had a feeling.
Just something small.
Those are the worst because you didn't like just stretch something or overuse a muscle. It's just like the first time my back went out, and I was a young man of like 25, I was flinching from a fly, Susie, and I had a back spasm that laid me out, laid me out for days, and then I was never right since then. And that fly just went on with his life.
Yeah.
He lived the next 2 hours of his life blissfully unaware.
That's right. That he changed me forever.
I've told the story a million times, but the first time that I really, really threw my kind of neck and back out, it was washing my hair in a sink.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I could see that. Because you're bending weird, Yeah,
it was the dumbest idea. Nicola and I were in Rome getting on an airplane to come back home after our honeymoon, and for some reason I had not taken a shower that day, but I decided minutes before we left the hotel room that I just needed to wash my hair. This actually feels, Mom, really like a move you would pull, which is just kind of like a weirdly complicated hair washing situation instead of just taking a shower. I was like, I don't have time for a shower, but I do have time to dunk my head in this sink at the Hilton at the Rome airport, and it was terrible. I tweaked it, and there was a period of time somewhere over, the Atlantic Ocean where I was almost in tears from the pain, and they wouldn't give me any even ibuprofen, or they won't give you any of that stuff on the airplane. There's hard and fast rules about it.
Right, there is, and there even was back then, right?
Yeah, apparently. And that was pre 9/11. Literally, it was days before 9/11. I think it was September 9th or September 10th that we were doing that. All right, Mom, well, I'm glad that your back is feeling better. My other question to you is, were you low-key were you trying to let me know subtly that you wanted to be on the show today when you asked me, hey, so you're doing TBTL later?
Not actually, no. It was just, I was just curious. I know how your routine goes, so.
Right. Well, why did you walk in wearing the headphones and carrying your own microphone?
No, he gave me the headphones.
Okay,
no.
Sure.
You better not kid too hard with my mother, Andrew. Okay. Hey, Mom, last time you were on the show, there was a rumor that you were going to join some TBTL book club. Did that ever happen?
No, it's because it's so difficult to join a book club online.
Hey, tens.
Yeah, figure it out, guys.
Wait, Mom, that was a joke. Please don't be mean to the donors. What happened? You couldn't figure out how to log onto the Facebook or something?
I actually said, I don't know, maybe I need to be on another site, another TENS app or whatever, because I said, I really want to join this book club and da-da-da-da, and then it just never happened.
It never happened because you never actually went and found it?
I thought I found it, but then I did miss one of the joins, and then it was just I couldn't find it again. So I'm still interested.
Okay, that's good. Whoever's running the book club, take this however you want, but Susie is still interested. Okay, just letting you know.
I don't know.
Hey, Mom, I know it didn't totally come together maybe exactly the way you wanted it, but I was very proud of you about a writing exercise that you did recently where you submitted, you submitted a story for that thing that we really like in the Sun magazine.
Yeah, right. And I know that you don't get a response right away because they're months behind, but I didn't get a response, so I assume that they didn't take it, which was kind of disappointing because I've been reading this magazine's, write-ins from the people that get the magazine.
Yeah, there's basically a prompt in this magazine, The Sun, that just says, we're taking very short sort of stories, anecdotes that are true, they're nonfiction, about a particular topic. And so what was the topic that you wrote in about?
Distractions.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Something I can relate to. And then have they published the issue of the magazine? I just got one in the mail 2 days ago. I don't know if you've checked it, Mom. There's a new one in there. Have they published that particular prompt and you're not in there? Do you know for a fact you didn't get included?
I don't know for a fact because I'm no longer sponsoring, or I'm not getting the magazine because my 1-year gift from my daughter Liz ran out. And I was like, well, maybe I can get this online. So I don't know.
Let's be honest. You thought, I'll steal them from Luke's house.
That was a thought, yeah.
Which you did recently. You and Dad came back from Seaside, and you just had like a bundle of magazines you had absconded with.
I don't know about that. That's your dad's doing, I guess.
Really? Yeah. I would have definitely assumed that was you. But anyway, Mom, you are welcome to borrow them anytime. But so you don't know. It's not official that you haven't been included yet.
No, it's not official, but I pretty much know that somehow they would have emailed me or got a hold of me. And I thought it was pretty good. It was a good exercise regardless, you know?
Well, that's the thing. I'm wondering, are you going to keep doing it? I mean, because it might take, a few tries and a few submissions to get one in there. And I do think it's a really good exercise for you to get, pen to paper and start thinking about stuff like that.
Absolutely. That's what I'm thinking too. It was a really good first try at something. And if it doesn't, I mean, how many writers wait years and years before they actually get, the bite?
Absolutely. And I mean, yeah, you just got to keep trying and keep trying. So,
what was your take on the topic?
What's that?
What was your take on the topic? What did you write about?
Well, I wrote about my ADHD because that's why I always was distracted. Mm-hmm. In my growing up years, like my great aunt used to say, Susan Marion, give your tongue a sleigh ride, because I was always talking.
Wait a sec. Let's just unpack that for a minute.
Ride.
Give your tongue a sleigh ride. Would that I guess that would just mean that your tongue would be occupied, therefore you couldn't talk. That still sounds like a lot of activity for the tongue.
Well,
like give your tongue a break would make sense. Put your tongue to sleep would make sense. Give your tongue a sleigh ride sounds like your tongue is living its absolute best life.
If you try to give your tongue a sleigh ride, you have to stick it out, right?
Wait, is that a Philly thing? Is that called giving your tongue a sleigh ride?
I gotta look this up.
It's old school. This was my great Aunt Lou that said it. So, wow. Back, I don't know, 60 years ago, 70 years ago, maybe. Well, not quite 70, more like 65.
So you were writing about the fact that your ADHD causes you to get distracted pretty easily?
Yeah, and I was explaining that, it was taken as like that I was kind of an airhead, or that I was, distracted, but I didn't even use the word distraction because that's what the topic was. But I kind of said, this is the reason that I was always looking out the window at school, that it was because of this ADHD, and I didn't know it until I was an adult.
Now, are you, you don't have to answer this, Mom, if this is overly personal, but do you take like Ritalin or something? Do you take anything for the ADHD, and does it help? Do you feel a difference?
Yes, I do. And I think it does help, even if it's psychologically,
Do you take it every day?
Yep, I do.
Do you crush it up into a line and snort it off of a mirror?
No, and it's not really Ritalin. I think that's a stronger ADHD med. Okay. So it's a mild ADHD med, but I take it because I think it's helpful.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I give you some really interesting information, Luke, that I think you're going to be, I'll give it to both of you, but Luke specifically, I think you'll be shocked at some of the connections here to that phrase, give your tongue a sleigh ride. Now, according to AI Overview, it was actually coined by a Seattle sports vendor. Now, I think that claim of being coined here is probably wrong. I think that's AI being a little bit too...
It knows, AI is reading into where your IP address is, Andrew, and trying to like regionalize it to you.
Well, I don't think it's that, because it does sort of seem like all the results basically do point to this one fella. It is and who wrote this article in the Seattle Times, but none other than your friend Danny O'Neill. And it was about this,
our buddy.
He might have popularized it, or at least popularized it around here, but a voice that filled the Kingdome came straight from the heart. There was a vendor named Bill the Beer Man, who
Bill the Beer Man, sure.
Bill the Beer Man. Well, he used to say,
I did a post when the Mariners were playing well. I did a post, the three guys you see in heaven. It was Rick the Peanut Guy, Tuba Man, and Bill the Beer Man. They are Seattle. They were Kingdome legends.
Well, apparently he would say, freeze your teeth and give your tongue a sleigh ride. That's something he would often say.
Was that because that's freeze your teeth
beer, because he's trying to get people to drink his beer.
Cold beer.
Yeah, yep.
That's now, I mean, unfortunately what it means is it's a stolen valor, because Mom, your Aunt Lou, your great Aunt Lou was saying that long before the Kingdome was even built. So we need to really reassess the legacy of Bill the Beer Man.
Right.
Absolutely. Because it actually meant take a break, stop talking. Because if you try to give your tongue a sleigh ride, you're going to stick your tongue out, and then you can't really talk.
Well, I'm going to write a strongly worded letter to the estate of Bill the Beer Man, if anybody has his
he had
address.
it too good.
That's right.
Carrying around really heavy. One of the things I remember about Bill the Beer Man, famously sweaty. True story.
I'm seeing a photo of him now, and I don't. While I don't actually see the sweat, it's giving sweaty. You know what I mean?
As the young people say, it is giving. Sweat, because he would carry around, and then he would carry around all this beer, and he was a guy of pretty large carriage, as it were, who had a hard job and was walking up and down the stairs of the Kingdome, throughout the game. And then you also had again Rick the Peanut guy, who I'm wondering, Andrew, if you. I don't think your time of going to Mariners games ever overlapped with Rick's, but his move was behind the back peanut toss. Do you remember this, Mom, ever from being at a Mariners game?
Actually, you mean he would actually toss peanuts?
It would be a bag, so all the peanuts that he sold were in like a little, but they were like, a kind of a foil bag. So it wasn't like a paper bag with an open top. They were a foil bag, and he would do this move, and the listeners from Seattle who went to games back in the day will totally recognize what I'm talking about. And you'd be like 3 rows away, and if you signaled for peanuts, he would pull one of these foil bags of peanuts, and then he would kind of do this thing where he would recrimp it. He had to really make sure that it was it was closed. He had to make sure it wasn't going to fly open, and then he would whip it behind his back with incredible accuracy, 3 rows right to your outstretched hands. It was an incredible thing to see. There's probably video of it actually online.
Were they free? The peanuts are worth it.
Heck no, Mom.
It's a ball game.
I didn't think so.
Although it is worth pointing out that Rick the Beer Man, Billy the Beer Man, I'm getting them all confused now, is wearing a hat that says cold beer, $1.25.
Yes.
$1.25.
Is it a pin? Is it a pin on his hat?
It looks like it's like kind of covering the entire front of his hat, so it's very readable from far away.
Like back in the day, they would give the people that were working, I believe it was Ogden. I think Ogden was the company that had the contract for the food sales in the Kingdome, and they would also give them these ginormous pins that would like you would pin on that they'd pin them on their hats.
Okay,
and it'd say like $1.50, and that would just like let you know that's how much the beer was or the peanuts were or whatever it was back in the day.
I love that. I love also that the peanuts that he was tossing. Also, by the way, I hate to tell you that Rick Kaminsky, the Peanut Man, also has passed on. So he and the Tuba Man. That's why I said these are the 3 guys you see in heaven. Oh, you probably already knew that. Yeah,
Right.
but
And they were definitely old when they died, because we're talking years ago,
I believe they lived full life. Tuba Man, unfortunately, who was this guy that would play the tuba outside of the Mariners and Seahawks game and was just a beloved dude. He met an unfortunate end. He died far too soon, and it was the result of a physical attack that happened to him out there.
Oh, no.
A real tragedy. But I do believe that Rick and Bill the Beer Man, I think that they passed away of natural causes, at least. There was one other quasi-celebrity in the world of the Kingdome who I had a tangential connection to, Mom, and it was, they used to show this video during the Mariners games, I think at most of the games that I went to when they were in the Kingdome, and it was of the time that a cat got out onto the Kingdome field, the AstroTurf, and they had to send out like a groundskeeper guy, like a maintenance guy, out to get the cat, and he picks up the cat, and the cat starts just scratching the living shit out of him. And the guy is spinning around in a circle, trying to get rid of this cat who's dug its claws into him. And that guy was my basketball coach at the Boys and Girls Club.
Oh, my gosh, that's crazy.
So every time that video would go up, I'd be like, that's my basketball coach from the Boys and Girls Club.
So wait, when that actually happened, were you being coached by him? Was there a day that you guys all showed up for practice and had a million questions?
I don't think so, because I think this happened in the summertime, and the basketball was like I can't remember if it was a fall time activity. So I didn't even know he had this job. He never even mentioned it. Apparently, Boys and Girls Club basketball coach was not sufficient income for him to live on it alone, and so he had a side job working at the Kingdome. But I didn't even know that about him until one day when I looked up on the Diamond Vision, and there he was swinging a cat around. It was my closest brush with celebrity to that point in my life.
Oh, that's funny. Speaking of false information, I don't know if you were talking about false information, but I saw on my phone that Marshawn Lynch died. Rest in peace. I was like, what? Of course, it was fake.
Yes, Mom, you have to be. Mom, I'm really glad that you're like, your brain is not trusting everything that it sees on the internet. That is a very good impulse and instinct, and I would really advise you and Dad to really stick with that, because with AI and with these videos and just with, there is so much misinformation, and it's harder and harder and harder to sort of separate facts from fertilizer, as we say on this program. And particularly as you and Dad get older and stuff, like, here's something that I'm a little bit worried about that I've been meaning to float on the Hawk Squad. Mom, if you get a call from that sounds, or you or Dad get a call that it's allegedly from one of us kids and we're like in jail. Actually, that might be true if it's me. But no, but like if you get a call that's supposedly from one of us and maybe it even sounds like us and we're saying, I'm in trouble, I need you to send money, do not send money, okay? If we're in trouble, we will get the help we need and maybe we will need help from you, but do not send money to anyone ever, particularly if it's supposedly one of us.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, I mean, you could consider it.
No. I mean, if I didn't hear your voice.
No, but if you did, I'm saying this is how sophisticated they are. They have the ability sometimes now to basically spoof or clone somebody's voice. So you could get a phone call that sounded like it was Serzi or me or, any of the kids. And we could be saying, hey, Mom, I was in a car accident and they're telling the police are here and I need money or whatever. And it can be very confusing, but I'm just saying you and Dad need to have – what you and Dad need to do is continue with your hard policy of never giving us money.
That's not necessarily true.
I'm just saying, do not. I'm half joking, but I'm being serious that I get worried about how unbelievably convincing the scams are getting, and I get worried about. And the same thing, Mom, about anybody who calls your dad and says, we're from the IRS and we need you to do this, or we're with the FBI. Do not, particularly Dad, because I mean, if the IRS called you,
he takes every text that comes down the line.
And if you or I got a call from the IRS, we would just ignore it for probably years, but not Dad. He'll be sending them a check tomorrow.
Right.
So you need to be careful. You need to ride herd on that, okay?
Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
Well, contrarily, though, and I just want to throw this out there, if I ever call you and I'm asking for money, I think you should just give me money. I just want to throw that out there. Hey, I have a question for you, and I don't want to put you on the spot because this has happened to all of us before where you're just like scrolling and you see something, you're like, what? And then you're like, wait, that can't be right. And then you immediately figure out that somebody's just lying. But I'm a little bit curious about like where you see stuff like that. Because for me, like I'm on some website called Blue Sky now. I don't know if you're on that or like, where do you see stuff like that?
I think it's just on, when I open my phone in the morning.
Yeah.
It's kind of like threads off of Google, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I don't, I do have a Seahawks site.
Yeah.
I do have a Mariners site, but it just comes up on the general site.
Where does Dad, because every morning I see Dad over there on that iPad scrolling away, but I don't know where he, like, what news. I think he's just like Google News as well or something, right? He's not going to the Seattle Times or one of those things that has a paywall. He's just kind of scrolling around. And now listen, I'll give Dad credit. I think he's pretty up to speed on stuff, and I think I don't hear him, sort of quoting a lot of misinformation. Nor do I hear that from you, Mom. So I mean, I'm happy that you guys are both pretty plugged in still, but just be so careful about what you believe on the internet, because there is a lot of stuff out there that's not true now.
Absolutely. So when I read that Marshawn died and it was like R.I.P. and I was like, that can't be right. Then I went to I think I might have gone to Seahawks, and it was like, oh no, this isn't the truth.
Yeah, you can cross-reference it. To me, it's like if it's a national story, I always go to the New York Times. It's just because it just is, if it's a really big story, they'll generally have it. Or if it's in Seattle, I'll go to the Seattle Times or whatever. But yeah, cross-referencing stuff is always a good idea. Don't believe everything you see on there.
Right. And the responses, I was looking at the responses. There were some heated responses over that.
About the fact that it was fake. They were mad that these people were putting something fake out for the clicks.
Absolutely. Yeah. They were like, what? Get off, Shut the F up. I mean, it was really pretty strong because they were like, obviously it was fake. But this was actually the first time that I can remember getting fake news like that.
Yeah, I start to see that on TikTok sometimes, and yeah, one of the things it'll be basically saying that somebody died who hasn't died, and it's because that's a surefire way to get some clicks, which is what people are trying to do. Also, the
I'm
nice thing
seeing
is,
this, by the way. I think I'm seeing what you saw. I think it's on Facebook. Are you ever on Facebook?
Oh,
Do you
could
get
have been on Facebook, Ma?
Maybe, but it was on a general line, and I don't usually go to Facebook in the morning, so it was like right there front and center.
It's just so strange for absolutely no reason. One day ago, some account called Seattle Seahawks Fans posted, and there's somebody who posted under their real name, who's the admin, wrote this thing about how heartbreaking it is and made like a kind of a fake RIP tribute to him without any kind of irony or joke. And then, yeah, all the responses are very angry. But I just don't understand the impetus for this at all.
I mean, clickbait, right? Don't you think?
Yes, but it's just
getting
like
clicks.
It's just Facebook.
Yeah, I guess
you know
so.
what I mean? It's not clicking to. It doesn't seem to be monetized in any way. People are awful.
Well, that is true. I mean, I think the takeaway from this segment has been that we've been able, I think, to, Mom, kind of coach you and Dad up on cybersecurity, which is important. Now that Microsoft is no longer hiring me to do that, I'm just available to the larger community. And we have audio of my mom saying, "Shut the F up," in the clear.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
When you were quoting one of the comments.
Right, but I didn't use that. I didn't say the full word.
No, you said "shut the F up," but now we have that as audio, and now we can play that. We can add that, Mom, to your.
What's up, dog?
We got this one.
I say, what's up, dog?
We also have this one,
There ain't nothing like soup.
and soon we'll have "shut the F up."
That's
No,
right. Yes.
that'll really demise me or something.
No, we won't do that to you, Mom. Okay, all right. Well, Mom, I love you. Thank you for chatting. I hope you're back
Thursday. I'll see you Thursday.
I told you, Andrew. She lives here
Yeah.
now.
No, we're actually going to be watching our little grandson, Luke. He's not that little anymore. He's double digits or coming up on it. And so we're going to come spend the night here Thursday night because Walter will already be here. And then we're going to Portland for the weekend.
Oh, nice.
All right, Mama. Well, listen. Good luck with your back.
Thank you.
I love you, and get home safe. Okay.
I will. Whoops.
Take care, Susie.
Don't want those on me. All right. See you, Luke.
Bye, Ma. I'm going to switch over.
See, now it hurts.
We was hoping for some razzle-dazzle.
Razzle-dazzle.
That's right, man, razzle-dazzle.
On your mark. On your mark. Get set. Get set. Now ready. Ready. Go. Everybody razzle dazzle.
All right, let's thank some dazzling donors. These wonderful folks are dazzling us with their donation of dough, and it's how TBTL can operate. This is 100% listener-supported podcasting. Thanks to Denny Gamer, who's in Edmonds, Washington.
Thank you, Denny.
Thanks, Denny. So nice to see your name on this list after years and years of support. We do really appreciate you so much, Denny. Denny says, Luke, Andrew, and John, radio has been my companion since I was a preteen. I started out with KBIZ and KLEE in my hometown in southeast Iowa. One was your hit parade type of music, and the other was country and western. To get rock, I had to wait until after dinner to pull in WLS, the world's largest station from Chicago, 300 miles away. I listened to Art Roberts' contemporary mix, the Beatles, the Supremes, Paul Revere and the Raiders, etc. He always ended his show with, "This has been a work of art. Excelsior."
Nice.
That's such a cool. That's right up there with No Mountain Too Tall. When I moved to Seattle, I stumbled on sports talk in the late 70s when the Mariners started up with J. Michael Kenyon, who was just weird enough to make me a member of his vast listening audience, an early version of the tens of listeners. I drifted into punk rock and to KUOW. Boy, what a journey.
Yeah.
From like, Chicago, hit parade radio to punk to KUOW. I'm Ross Reynolds. I stumbled onto KCMU when I took an interest in Husky baseball. Whoa, that's even before my time. So KCMU, it was the station that became now KEXP.
Yeah,
it was in the communications building at the University of Washington. And yeah, you had these two stations. You had KUOW, which was 94.9, and then you had KCMU, as in Communications CMU, and they were right next door to each other. KCMU was 90.3. I did not know that they played the Husky baseball games, though. That by the time I got to KCMU, it was full of like kind of, I don't want to say this in a mean way, but like it had been fully taken over by music snobs. Not even music snobs, but music fans. particularly of independent or a kind of outsider music, and they would not have stood for Husky baseball games being played when they were supposed to be playing the Dead Kennedys.
I know this takes us out of the realm of radio, but speaking of, and we can talk more about this because there's tons of time between now and May 6th, but I'm going to my first UW baseball game. I've never been to a collegiate baseball game before, but I think, and my buddy invited me to it because there's some, the person who's going to be like the number one prospect will be in town playing, I want to say for UCLA, but I don't know who that person is, but my buddy's
And
a
are
big
they
baseball
actually
nerd.
are they a pitcher? Are they some other position player?
That is a really good point. I'd have to dig into my text messages to figure out who that person is. All I know was like a May afternoon, go to the Huskies game. I've never been to that part of the city before, wherever that sports complex is. I'm assuming it's somewhere. Is it somewhere near the
I think it's
football
right
stadium?
by. I think it's been. So I used to be the Husky baseball reporter for the UW Daily, and you know who my boss was? Danny O'Neill.
Yeah.
Second Danny O'Neill reference. So back in those days, I think the field was over kind of by where sort of the not Kid Valley, but the Burgermaster was and University Village.
Oh, yeah.
It was sort of, and I think it's now moved, near Husky Stadium. I think they built a brand new, really nice softball field because the Husky softball team is like all world. And then I think they built a nice new baseball stadium too. So I bet you it's a fun watch. What will be interesting too is the way that like minor league baseball, but in particular kind of like the, Portland Pickles and teams like that, like there's really been an embrace of kind of silliness in a good way, in a way of, and you've talked about going to see the fish sticks and stuff like that. You've had, and I don't even want to bring the Savannah Bananas into it because you and I both, I think, feel similarly about that.
Yeah, that doesn't really feel like baseball to me.
It's kind of not in the same category for me, but you've had a lot of these smaller teams in the interest of attracting people to the games have made the games a real event of all kinds of shenanigans and all kinds of fun. And it's really it's kind of in the style of like Bill Veeck, who was famous general manager or maybe owner of which team did he own? Was it the Tigers? Was he the guy that was behind Disco Demolition? But
that was Stahl.
Well, Steve Dahl was
right?
the DJ, but I'm saying Bill Veeck was in charge of the team.
Promotion.
I believe.
I see. Yeah.
But actually, you know what? I could be wrong. If he was, I can't remember if he was the Tigers or the White Sox. There was famously this one owner who did this bit where they were going to drop a baseball out of an airplane and have their catcher catch it.
That sounds dangerous.
But they switched it with a grapefruit, and the story went that the grapefruit exploded all over the guy trying to catch it.
Oh my God, that
just like
wonderful,
wild
actually.
stuff going on back in the day. Here's where I'm going with all this. I wonder what like college baseball does. Like if they try to do any of that, like I wonder if your time going to this Husky game will be filled with much more like entertainment and shenanigans than it was like because when I used to go back in the day, it was like no shenanigans. It was college baseball, and it was just there was like 8 people there. And it was just like they weren't trying to sell the sizzle. I wonder if they've picked up any tips and tricks from the like Portland Pickles of the world.
I would be surprised, but I'll let you know. I've never gone before, and I'll report back. Of course, I don't have the historical context. It doesn't seem like something. I mean, it seems like these are players who are like already being very conscientious of like where, I mean, not that I guess these promotions you're talking about are not like, you're not talking about the pitcher going on stilts or something like that.
No. I just mean like the if they're going to have someone race the Husky, like if there's going to be a stunt where someone has to run against the mascot, or if there's going to be, I don't know, just more of that kind of stuff. By the way, Bill Veeck, one-time owner of the Cleveland, then called Indians, also the St. Louis Browns and the Chicago White Sox.
Interesting.
So he had nothing to do with Disco Demolition at all. I was wrong about that.
Anyway, but I am sorry to put the focus on me during Denny's dazzling donor message, but I am very excited about that baseball game.
Let's put the focus back on Denny right now and say, Denny says, I stumbled onto KCMU when I took an interest in Husky baseball. KCMU broadcast the baseball games, and I later played some pretty good music. Boy, Denny Gamer has to be literally the only person who found their way into the KCMU broadcast schedule by way of the Husky baseball broadcast.
And essentially got his way into KEXP through Husky baseball. Yeah, that's
precisely. And then who knows, maybe TBTL. When they became KEXP, I started supporting them. Then I found TBTL. The through line in this story is the connection to someone talking on the radio, either while they play music or talking about what's happening. What is happening? Keep up the good work, friends.
All right. Thanks, Denny.
Wow, Denny, you and I are cut from the same cloth, and I think Andrew is a little bit too. This like love of radio, but particularly the love of hearing someone talking on the radio, whether it's about baseball or music or whatever this is. Like it's been a comfort and a companion in my life, my entire life, and I feel like you're a kindred spirit, Denny.
A necessary companion. I was thinking about what you said because it was very, very relatable. I think maybe on Friday's show or something, you were talking about how you had to just walk a very small distance between your house to your studio, but you're going to work out in your studio and you don't want to like start your workout podcast too early. So what are you going to listen to for those moments? Like I had like an awful 2 or 3 minutes in my kitchen on Sunday where I didn't
donut.
I just
2 minute donut of time.
It was like silence, and I was like, oh God, like I just got to put something on. And one thing I've been doing in my kitchen too is like kind of putting on. Well, this is a whole thing, but like I'm trying to find the perfect sort of background movies I don't need to have eyes on the whole time. And usually it would be a movie that I'm rewatching, but not in every case. I watched a movie in several parts as I cooked several nights in a row. Like, have you ever heard of The Great Waldo Pepper with Robert Redford?
I feel like I heard it just in passing when Robert Redford died, and so they were, his career was being discussed, but I couldn't tell you one thing about the movie.
Well, I was cooking and watching at the same time, so maybe I couldn't either. But I could tell you 1 or 2 things. I won't bore. But it's a pretty long, sprawling movie that takes place in, I believe, the late 20s, early 30s, about like airplane acrobats, guys who had fought,
like wing walkers.
Yes, and like guys who had basically fought in World War I, but then were looking for their place as, like they still had this desire to fly, but trying to find. And so they were literally barnstormers, like they would go just land in a field somewhere and collect a bunch of money. And it's charming and sprawling and weird. And it makes sense. I later found out that it's directed by the guy who did like Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid and The Sting, right? And so those 3 movies together, it totally would make sense that I don't know when they came out in relation to each other, but it does seem like sort of like the third child of that style of movie, if you know what I mean.
You know the movie that Becca is trying to get me to watch that she's like obsessed with, which seems like a movie you might have experience with. It's called Leap of Faith. It's Steve Martin is like a tent revivalist.
I've never seen it. I can picture the cover. I swear that he's wearing a sparkling jacket on the cover, but I could be wrong about that.
I think you're probably right. But I don't know if it was like a VHS they had in the house or something, but I was telling her about my weekend, which involved a bunch of things. I do want to tell you about Hyprov in a minute, but I also went to a wedding, and the wedding was at a church. It was at a, like a big kind of mega church in Vancouver, Washington. And I was telling Becca how it was very interesting for me to walk into that place and see all of the posters and signage and stuff about, that particular style of Christianity. And it really it was an interesting. I just don't hang out in that world very much anymore, and a lot of it is very much the same. Like a lot of and they were even playing songs at the wedding that were really taking me back to the day. But in talking about that, she said, "Well, have you seen Leap of Faith?" And I was like, "No," and now she's really on me to see it. So I don't know. I might have to check in on that because I know how you love to watch movies from about 10 to 15 years ago. So
that would be like 30, right? Wasn't that like 90s or something? 10 or 15 years ago is way too modern for me, my friend. 2010? Are you kidding me? That is way too modern. I don't
feel very good anymore.
Can I ask you? Maybe this is the wrong time to kind of get into this, but it's interesting. You talk a lot about your upbringing, and you talk about like the religious aspects of that, and all of the faith that your family and some of the activities that you did around that. But I always picture it very small, right? Like a small congregation. Your dad was a preacher for a while, all those things. Yeah. But there's obviously parallels between that and the megachurch community, I think, as far as like fundamentals are concerned. I use the word fundamentals very knowingly. But what was your relationship with megachurches? This is the first time I can ever really even picture you in that kind of an environment.
Well, I didn't have one, except this is what I was saying to Becca. If I, at 10 years old, would have walked into this megachurch, I would have been so impressed. I would have been like, this is what we're trying to do at Gospel Outreach, but like the successful version. It's scaled up. Our experience with megachurches came by way of cassette tape, because we would get cassette tapes that my parents would like pay a subscription for of worship music, like church songs. But these would be like, generally speaking, kind of newly written, like written in the last few years songs. And they would come from successful megachurches. What they had were like a good worship band, and they had, somewhat talented songwriters.
Guitar and drums, right?
Guitar, drums, singing. And I think there was, I can't remember the name. It might have been called like Harvest Ministries or something. I don't know. We would get these tapes from this one church that was a mega church, and I remember I would listen to the music, and then eventually we would listen to the music so much in the car that this would become songs that I would know and also kind of like. And I would just think, what would it be like to go to a church that had all of this like musicality and you can hear the people sometimes singing along in the congregation. So my relationship with megachurches was aspirational as a kid. I was like, maybe someday we'll be like Bill Hybels. He had a big church somewhere, and this was kind of before Joel Osteen, so I didn't know a lot about what was going on with him in Texas. But there was Chuck Swindoll, there was James Dobson. Not that James Dobson was a pastor so much, but yeah, there were these mega churches that I would hear about, and again, I would always just think like, wouldn't that be incredible if that could happen to us?
Because there are a lot of the base stuff, the stuff that you would talk about, the way you would talk about it, the way you would sing about it, all of it. It's the same. It was just scale. That's interesting. I never thought about it that way, honestly.
We were the micro machine of these big churches where it was really working. And this wedding actually was somebody who was part of that church, the Gospel Outreach Church.
Somebody that you knew from way back in the day.
Yeah, somebody that I knew from back in those days, and she was actually like a babysitter of me and my sisters when we were little and stuff. And so, and she's continued with this kind of this is a big part of her life, I guess, still. And so was getting married and invited us, and so we showed up. But yeah, it was an interesting. It was just a long time since I've been around that energy, and it was a little triggering, but I got through it, and I was happy that I went. Maestro,
on your mark, get set, now ready, go, everybody ready.
You know what you were like there, Andrew? You were like a second baseman, and I was the shortstop. And we were turning a double play, and I gave you a lousy ball. And you somehow picked it up. You barehanded it, and you got it to
I had
first.
the music ready to go. It was just pouted down on my board, and it was a little bit. Yeah.
No.
I wasn't
gave you
sure
a lousy,
that we were doing that.
You made the transfer admirably, considering how I delivered the ball to you. Now, the guy legged it out at first, but that's on me. We got the lead runner. Okay?
Yeah, no, it was a fielder's choice. I want you to know also what was happening to me there, and I bet you know this is. I have a lot more.
You know this.
You know this. I have a lot more questions for you about it, and none of them are. None of them are edgy questions, but I just want to be careful about it because I'm curious. Like, who did you go with? Did you go with your family and your folks? Is that why they're in town? But I was like, you know what? If I keep on asking these questions, at a certain point, it's an invasion of privacy that even I should.
I'm not worried about. No. I'm not worried about that, and I'm not worried about talking about it. I guess I just was champing at the bit to thank Aaron Zienert in Spokane, Washington, who is our second dazzling donor today. Aaron, so nice to see your name on the list again, and also to say your name correctly. I have a feeling I have been mispronouncing it in the past. I now know that it's Zienert.
Yeah, it's a great pronouncer, actually.
That is
very
super
well
helpful.
Written. Yep.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you for the donation. And Aaron says, thank you for the joy you bring, lovies.
Aww.
Next time you're worried about not hitting the mute button in time, just know the sound of your sneeze or cough could be more problematic. And then Aaron includes a link, which I'm guessing, Andrew, of course, we have not previewed this, but my guess is this is somebody having a real situation happen on air, maybe with a cough or a sneeze.
So what I'm looking, so I've clicked on this link, and I have not watched it, but it's like about 20 seconds long. And it seems to be a video that was filmed in a church, coincidentally, of a chamber orchestra. It looks like kind of a large, man. I'm going to say a large chamber orchestra here.
Yeah.
And it looks like there are people in the pews watching this. It's not part of a church service, I'm guessing. It's just probably a good place to hear chamber music. And do you want me to... I think I should read... I think I should read the how this is titled on YouTube. It's titled "Man Sneezes into His Trombone During Concert." Honestly, that description is so good. I don't know that this can actually even pay off better than just the description, but let's take a listen here.
Beautiful.
It never occurred to me that is like a danger of a live performing with a horn, with a trombone. I played trombone for a little bit, until my parents wanted to get me off the bass clef.
That God, yeah, I hadn't even. I mean, if it comes on quickly enough and you're engaged with the trombone, what are you gonna do?
I'm glad I read the subject line first so that we knew what we were listening for there, because otherwise, I don't know if we would have known that was somebody sneezing into their trombone.
I thought that pays
off.
That's funnier than I was expecting.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be someone just has like a sneezing fit during a very kind of quiet part of the movement of the classical music or something, which is, something I would always be stressed about probably if I was up there. But Aaron, thank you for your contributions to TBTL across the board, both with the money and also the funny audio.
In the content.
We really do appreciate you and couldn't do the show without you.
Hello and welcome to Top Story.
All right. After I went to that wedding, Andrew, I continued south and grabbed Becca in Portland, and then we headed on down to Salem, Oregon, where we had been gifted tickets. This is something Becca's family does a lot, which is they will buy tickets to a thing for everybody in the family for Christmas and major holidays, and it's actually kind of a really cool idea because it involves everybody getting together, and it's a lot of stuff that, sometimes it's something that I would have maybe picked for myself. A lot of times it isn't, but I've said before about this, I'm always really glad that it happens, and it wouldn't happen if somebody hadn't shelled out a bunch of money for a ticket, Was I going to go to a improv hypnotism show in Salem on Saturday? Probably not, but was it kind of fun and interesting? Absolutely.
Can I just say one other thing about that I like, which is just I do think that it sounds like Becca's family is in line with kind of what Genevieve likes as well, and more people. I think it's both maybe an age thing, but also maybe where we are in society. But giving a gift that isn't a thing that you have to, first of all, worry about whether or not somebody wants this thing in their life, but also where are they going to put this thing, and also are we bringing more things into the world that we might not need? And this is a very sweet, thoughtful way to kind of not have to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, most of us, I guess you could say fortunately, have most of the stuff we need and generally speaking, don't need more physical objects in our life. If anything, we're trying to declutter. And so this was Jeff and Darcy, Becca's brother, and his wife got these tickets. They live in Salem, and so they were, were looking at the local scene down there and what was going to be happening. And so got these tickets. And I did not know what to expect. I don't know if I've ever been to. I've certainly been to an improv show. I don't know if I've ever been to a hypnotism show more than at the state fair where they try to hypnotize some chickens or something. Or I've walked by someone doing hypnotism. I think at the Oregon State Fair, and just glanced at it. I think that's maybe the closest I've been to a formal hypnotism event.
I did as a freshman. I don't know if you're asking me, but when I was a freshman at Kent State University, I believe we had a week of maybe you get there a week before classes begin. It's called orientation or something along those lines. And I think that one of the orientation activities one evening was for us all to gather in some gymnasium somewhere. I remember sitting in the bleachers of some gymnasium where there was a hypnotist down on the stage on the court or whatever, and he was, hypnotizing people in the audience. But that's as much as I remember, other than me being a skeptical little punk up there and not really being super into it.
The weird thing is, I think I do think, having watched this, I believe that it is truly a thing that you can put someone in a hypnotic state. I think it's real, actually. And the reason is because what this thing was was the hypnotist. So it starts out with, first of all, it was one of the guys from Whose Line Is It Anyway? This guy's name's Colin Mockery. He's
of course.
kind of one of the main folks that do that show or that did that show or whatever. And it was him. He was the improv side of it. And then there was this other guy that was the hypnotism side of it. So it started basically with the hypnotist getting 20 people up on stage, 20 volunteers, and then taking them through a series of exercises, then eventually kind of sending people off and whittling it down to like 5 people that I think he felt he had the most deeply in the throes of his hypnosis. And so then they became the improv troupe. And then the improviser, Colin Mockery, he comes back out now, and now they're setting up scenes where it's like, we're on a romantic date. And so the hypnotist will like give one of the hypnotized people like instructions and then bring them, to consciousness, or at least to consciousness while still hypnotized. And then they'll be improvising a scene with this guy about being on a date. Or there was one where they were like space explorers, and the Colin Mockery guy was the captain, and somebody was the supercomputer, and another person was the chief science officer or whatever. But the reason that I tend to believe this is because the hypnotized people were legit good with the improv.
That's what I was going to ask.
And it's because, and by the way, I don't think they were plants. I don't think this was a big budget enough operation for them to travel around with. Also, Becca's brother, John, went up and almost made the cut. He was in the last round. And we know he wasn't a plant. So like, I don't think that the people who were on stage were, part of the act. I think they were legitimately people who bought a ticket and came to this thing and just kind of wanted to participate. And the reason that I believe that this thing actually was real, that people actually were hypnotized, is because I've, done a lot of things on stage at this point in my life with people who are not used to being on stage. And there is a physicality around it. There is there's a Jack Donaghy, what do I do with my hands? There's just a kind of a slumping of the shoulders. There's just a whole thing that happens to most regular people when they are on stage in front of, 500 people, and they haven't done that before. And none of these people had any of that physicality. They were completely and totally confident when it was their turn. So it'd be like basically like 2 or 3 of them would be like sitting, like slumped in their chair, like basically on,
off,
like power save.
Yeah.
It's like they'd be off, and then 2 of them would be like activated. And the thing is, like, so I'll give you an example. One of the hypnotized people, this woman, her job, they did a radio drama. So the guy, Colin Mockery, is kind of narrating. It was a dark and stormy night, and he's got one of the hypnotized women, and her job is to do sound effects, okay? But the direction to her from the hypnotist is always do the wrong sound effect.
And she's just doing this with her mouth?
With her mouth. And so, and she's, maybe a mid-50s, kind of just a very, I would say, typical mid-50s woman who does not look like she has a background in, let's say, Hollywood sound effects or anything like that. And, but she's standing up there and she's just completely unfazed. And so Colin Mockery is doing the, it was a dark and stormy night and a dog came to the door, and then he points at her and she goes like, hee-haw, or whatever. She just makes like a crazy sound that is not a dog. And then he's doing another thing. And of course, the joke is building because every time he says a thing it's the obvious sound you would make, she makes a totally different sound. That alone is harder than you would think.
And she did it pretty seamously without having to think.
She did it seamlessly.
Yeah.
She took no time to think. Like, if I pointed at you, Andrew, listen, people have heard you and I try to improv on the show. They know just how wrong it can
go. How was that?
That was a really good dog.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
That was a good boy. But, like, even doing the wrong sound effect is pressure. To just, again, your average person who's not used to this. Like, my sense of improv, and I've not done, I don't think I've really done any of it, like, in any, like, formal setting with classes or whatever. But my sense of it is that the people that are good at it, where they have gotten with it is a total, like, they're basically in a hypnotized state themselves, which is to say they're totally committed to the scene. They're not asking themselves, am I being funny or not? They're just trying to give their most realistic answer in this moment that's been created by the parameters of the improv scene. And for most of us who aren't good at it, that's the hard part, getting there with your responses. These people who were hypnotized were there, and it showed. And it was, I mean, it was like pretty, like I was pretty impressed by the whole thing just because, and yeah, for instance, the sound effect person, if she were like not hypnotized and just, first of all, she would just not have been as self-possessed up there as she was, in my opinion. And she also just like, she would have paused, and when you point at her and said like lightning sound, and then you're thinking of what's the opposite of lightning? What's a sound that's not lightning? You just would you'd have a 2-second delay of just trying to come up with what you were going to do.
Lightning makes a sound?
Okay, thunder. There you go.
Sorry, I knew you were going to hate that.
You
somebody was thinking that. I had to say that.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like and so anyway, this was because if the premise of this, if you will, or whatever you want to call it, wouldn't have been improv, which for the record, you know, I've watched some improv that's really impressed me. I got really into that Middleditch and Schwartz thing. Like I really liked that. So I'm not anti-improv. I've also seen a lot of less great improv in my life. So I'm sort of somewhere in the middle on it. But like this improv, what was great about it was for me a real clear indication that the hypnosis was real. If it would have just been like, I'm going to hypnotize these people, and now look at them, they're asleep. Now cluck like a chicken. Now whatever it is that other hypnotists do, I don't know if I would have bought it. But this was like, I was watching these people do something that I don't think would have been in their abilities if they were not hypnotized. You know? And then when they came out of it, there was this one woman who was kind of the breakout star of the show. She was the one who played the science officer in the space sketch and stuff, and she just was like, she was just funny because she was like no nonsense, and like she would say something and he would go, you know, she would say, yeah, the reading is 12 something or other, and he would go, are you sure? She goes, of course I am. I'm the science officer. That's how this works. Like she had this like huge confidence about everything she said, and then when they eventually at the end of the show was over, the hypnotist brings everybody out of their hypnotized state. Everybody's physicality up there changed. And she became pretty sheepish and was kind of like, I could see her kind of talking to the improv guy, you know, as everybody was clapping, kind of being like, oh my God, was that okay? Everybody seemed on stage like they immediately looked like the way that people that aren't on stage a lot look when they're on stage, you know, but which was very different than how they had appeared, you know, sort of while they were in the hypnosis. So it was interesting. I'm now a person who, if this comes up at parties, I will, is hypnosis real? I will probably be on the side of I do think it is a real thing.
Well, maybe you should get hypnotized, because this is my problem, is like everything, like I want you to know that I believe everything that you say, for real. Like, and this is just my problem, but like I am still just so skeptical. And I'm not saying that there aren't certain aspects of it. Like maybe you can get somebody to maybe like get into a flow state that has a little bit, that gives you a little bit more confidence. But this idea of like almost losing yourself into your own body, sort of like I just can't. And I don't know why. Like I'm part of me does want to sort of follow, because I think about magic. I think about magic as well, right? And close magic or whatever, like you see it at the whatever you see at the Magic Castle, right?
Yes.
Like, and I've experienced that, and you literally can't believe your eyes, but you know that there's a rational explanation for it. And with hypnotism, I'm not saying that the thing more than anything that you just said is, I do believe that when people say I couldn't quit smoking, I tried everything, and then I got hypnotized and it worked. Some people have said that. I can't think of anybody specifically in my life, but I kind of believe that. So I do believe that there is something, but also I believe that if you're somebody who's going in for it, maybe you've opened your mind to the possibility that it does work. So then, you know, and again, that's not cheating. That's just saying the mind works in a certain way, and we're going to take advantage of that. You know what I mean? And for the better when it comes to something like kicking a bad addiction like that. But I still, when you tell this story, like, I'll be honest with you, and again, I don't mean this as disrespect to your story or what you're saying, Luke, because I believe that these probably weren't plants, but as you're telling the story, I'm quite literally like doubting Thomas over here from the Bible, and just thinking like, yeah, but I'd still love to follow this show around a little bit and just see if any of these people show back up, you know, or what have you. And you know, it's more fun.
This is a weirdly, if this was part of throwing us off the scent, it was pretty genius, because this is a good, kind of slightly complicated thing, but I'll try to explain it. So one of the things they were doing to get prompts, you know, because how improv is, you know, we need a location and a whatever. was people had apparently filled out some prompts before the show, and they would put those like as a slide up on behind the stage. And they had the 5 people on stage who are now in the hypnotized state.
Uh-huh.
And they put up a one of the slides, and I forget what it was. It was a suggestion, and they read it, and the like the Colin Mockery guy like looked at the slide and he goes, "Is this person?" Let's say the person was named Elizabeth. He goes, "Is Elizabeth here in the audience who wrote this?" And then you just hear people yell, "She's on stage."
Oh, interesting.
It was like her friends, and in fact, I believe that was the woman who kind of was the star of the show. Now, again, we could be, this could
how
be like
many plants? Like half of the audience is creating this.
But I don't know. I mean, again, it could be it would be interesting to go to another one of these shows and see what the similarities were. But that to me was, I was like, well, they didn't set that part up because like they didn't know that was, the person who put the slide, had put in the suggestion for the slide was also a person who was on stage.
Yeah. Putting and I think I've talked around this on the show a little bit before, and I want to be very careful and respectful here because this person could very easily hear this because there's somebody who will listen to the show from time to time, I believe. But like putting even the hypnosis skepticism aside from me, for me or whatever, I saw a really wonderful performance by somebody who is a mutual friend of both of ours years ago, and there was this audience interaction part that was incredible. It was incredible that this nerdy guy ended up getting up and going wild the way he did. And I thought that was great, and we were even hanging with our friend afterwards. She's like, yeah, he was great. And then I start reading all the write-ups of it, and that guy was at every single show. Like, he was clearly... And like... And I hope my friend never hears me say this, and it was a wonderful show, and they know how talented they are and how successful that show was. But if you ever thought that I was going to like give up my skepticism around plans, that show that set me back a long way of trust.
My mom was talking about, I was telling them about the show last night, and my mom was like, well, that was like why I could never get slain in the spirit. She goes, I just couldn't like let myself go. And I go, well, also because it's not a real thing. But
well, do you think that's an interesting sort of comparison though? Like you think that, and again, I don't know much about, it's so funny. We're coming kind of back to this idea of like,
it all comes
sort of
back
like
to the
church, the mega church, but also what do you call that sort of healing, the faith healing and the everything that goes along with that? Like, when people are in the church and they're making the sounds that they make or speaking in tongues or whatever, like I don't want to betray some private conversations that you and I have had where you were describing your childhood, and some people are kind of like, oh, I know this person's routine.
You're not betraying anything. My sisters and I would play like Name That Tune, but it would be the way that people spoke in tongues from the church.
Right.
It was very repetitive.
But I do believe that like they're doing that because they are giving themselves over in a way. You know what I mean? Like I both feel like I believe that there's both an explanation for it, but also these people truly are believing it on some level. You know what I mean? Somewhere they are truly believing it.
I agree, and I do think that there are similarities. The difference is, in my opinion, having seen this thing on Saturday night, is the people who were speaking in tongues were bad at it because they were giving themselves over to it. Yes, they were trying to get into their own flow state with God. But because that's not a real thing, they couldn't think of new syllables to make other than Shidia Kodia, Shidia Kodia, Shidia Kodia, Shidia Kodia.
Right.
And so that to me would, if the improvers, in fact, it's funny, there was this like point where, again, the story was very convoluted on stage with the improv and what was happening, but there was this one woman who was up there, and she was supposed to be translating between this alien language and this other language, and he was like, you only speak let's just say it's not Dothraki, but like you only speak Dothraki. She just shifts into like a complete gibberish language, which didn't sound good. It didn't sound like when they write, Klingon or Dothraki, where it's like it has its own kind of, rules. It didn't sound that good, but it also sounded like a crazy made-up language that she just did on the spot.
Yeah.
That was so much better than the way that I heard people speaking in tongues at Gospel Outreach.
Sure,
because I think they were in their conscious mind, they were trying to get to this flow state, but they were not there, whereas I would say that this person was a little bit further into it because of the hypnotist pushing them there. But I totally agree with you that like by the very point of people going on stage to be part of this, they're already demonstrating that they want to be a part of it. They want to believe it. They're predisposed. And so I think that helps a lot. Like, I mean, I would be sort of happy to be hypnotized, but I mean, my fear around all of this stuff is that I'm going to say something racist, whether it's coming out of colonoscopy surgery or being hypnotized. I don't trust my brain when I'm not driving the bus. And frankly, I don't trust it when I am driving the bus. But especially like I don't know what kind of BS I'd get up to if I was hypnotized. But again, I guess I wouldn't rule it out, and I would try, but I don't think I could go there. I don't think I could put myself in the receptive state to have it really happen, unfortunately.
I will say I don't.
Or fortunately.
I don't think I have that specific concern, although I did tell you about the time that the day I woke up and I had to have oral surgery and they were totally putting me under, and the song I woke up with in my head that day was Juicy by Biggie Smalls, which has some pretty prominently placed N-words, and I was like, I cannot in my twilight state be singing the part of this song that is going through my head right now. But I will say, when you were talking about like having to make up a language on the fly, like that puts ice in my veins just thinking about it. Like if you said right now, like you and I have noted, I will put this on me, I am very bad at any kind of an improv situation, but even in the silly things that we do on this show. But one of the worst things you could do to me would say speak in a different language or a made up language right now, because I do feel that like I would be so unbelievably bad at that and so uncreative at that. And that is a type of thing where you could find yourself accidentally slipping into tropes and stereotypes of other languages that you might have heard in a different era of Looney Tunes or something along those lines.
Absolutely.
Like,
it's a minefield.
Yeah, exactly. How
it's
many?
Like the Strait of Hormuz.
How many? I have a solution for that, by the way. I'll tell you about it after the show.
Oh, well, the last thing I'll say, and again, I don't have a Doug on this flight, really.
Nice.
So I'm not.
Wes, put it in your pamphlet, Wes.
Yes, I am not obsessively trying to defend the reality of this, but just one other little sort of data point that I'm just remembering now is that the woman who was speaking the made-up language was literally sitting in front of us when we got seated. So she was in the row in front of us in the theater, and what I remember was like when they called for volunteers, she shot up there. Well, she was, I believe, her sort of maybe like grown daughter, maybe in her 20s or something, was there with her daughter and her daughter's boyfriend, right? These are the people that are sitting in front of us. This woman goes up there, and like they were dying about her being up there. And I remember at some point the boyfriend kind of squeezing the shoulder of his girlfriend and saying, oh my God, this is like so fun. So like,
you would need so many actors in the audience reacting to every single person.
I might have been the only non-actor in the film.
Right, exactly, because if
that's why my ticket was $8,000.
If everybody is putting on a show like, the family in the audience because they want to be convincing to the Burbanks behind them or whatever. It's just like, wait, who is an actor? Then the next thing you know, you're just insane. You're just spinning around saying, none of you people are real.
Right. So again, I tend to think it was real people, but but again, it was it's hard for me to imagine how it all works, because it seems like I cannot imagine myself getting into a state where I literally don't, I mean, without drugs or alcohol, where I don't know, like where one of the things was like, your belly button is missing, and everybody was like looking for their belly button. It's like, I can't imagine being so befuddled by a hypnotist that I thought my belly button went away.
Yeah.
I just can't. I feel like I would look at my stomach and see my belly button.
Yeah.
And be like, well, that's not happening. Like I can't imagine myself in that state of mind. But hey, it was a fun Saturday night. It was a fun thing to watch. The Oscars happened last night. We were kind of talking at the top of the show a little bit about Matt Berry being the announcer. I guess he replaced, I'd forgotten that it was Nick Offerman in years past. I wonder if
or year past, maybe?
Year past?
I had only, I don't follow these things, so I'm not trying to correct. I had thought I had read that he had just done it for 1 year, but I could be wrong about that.
I'm wondering if the announcer job is something that they like to have some fun with. I mean, Nick Offerman is like pretty, like, he could do a pretty straightforward job with it, but I mean, he is, I guess you could say, a little bit of that's a choice too, right? Like he's got a distinct kind of voice, and you're not just going with like Alan Coulter, the guy who calls the Super Bowls. who's the PA announcer.
I wouldn't know
Who just has the deepest voice. You could just get somebody who's just
in-arena voice, like the in.
He is the in-arena, and the reason that I even know his name, no, not Alan Coulter. What am I saying? That's Alan Coulter was Letterman's guy. There's a different guy. I think his name is also Alan, who does the Super Bowls, and the only reason I know him is because they have him on Stern a lot, and they just have him release. Because Howard Stern is obsessed with people who have a deeper voice than him. And this guy has like an incredibly deep voice.
That's a pretty good
But what
bit.
they have him doing, they just have him say all this funny stuff, which they now just play out of context. So like if Robin Quivers is doing something, it'll just be the Super Bowl in-arena announcer going, Robin. And it's like the funniest thing to
Is
me.
it Bill Stern? I'm just trying to Google on the flyer.
I don't
Did
think
you get
it's
there?
Bill Stern.
No. He died in 1971, so that'd be a hell of a
I feel like
feat.
this
Sorry.
guy's name is also Alan, but
Alan
I think
Roach.
Alan Roach.
Maybe.
Robin. Alan Roach. See if you can find Alan Roach Stern show. I don't know if that was
Super
even
Bowl
a thing
announcer Alan Roach demonstrates his legendary deep voice. This is from Stern, but I'm on a SoundCloud page, Lou. This is from.
I've always wanted to be a SoundCloud rapper.
By the way, do you know that this is a thing? Genevieve and I use SoundCloud to release after these messages. That's the behind-the-scenes platform that we use. People
I didn't know that.
People don't listen on SoundCloud. It just feeds all the usual podcatchers, But it's amazing because, ever since we've been doing this, and it's been over 10 years now, I think, or about 10 years, we will get like bots or we used to think of spammers, and then we're like, oh, well, they're probably just bots, but it'll just be like, your track is fire, like all these like just like hyping us up about like our track.
Yes.
It's like, we're gonna get you radio play, and we're like, really? You really like that 90-minute episode where we talked about police officers in commercials or whatever? Now, me just randomly playing Howard Stern audio on this show seems like a very dangerous game, but I can always, we're not live here, we can clean this up and post, but you just want me to hit play on this? So there's a playlist here with several tracks, and let's see here. And it says Super Bowl announcer Alan Roach demonstrates his legendary deep voice. This first track is called Angie.
The Howard Stern Show.
How many different drops do you have of Robin over there, Fred? That's pretty awesome the way you
see. 10 billion.
Yeah.
Here's the wall.
I don't have a penis. So now you know.
This is a good one.
Horse is fun. My ass is my legacy.
This is quite good.
I'm going to your car.
Oh, jeez.
wow.
All right, so let's stop that for a second.
I think we'll just have to bleep all of that out. Robin.
Bleep a lot of that. Let's see here.
It's probably not worth it.
Yeah.
All that is to say.
Oh, wait, here it is. Here. I think I played the wrong track. For real. Let's just
Stern Show.
But it's funny with that voice. Like, do people take you seriously? Like, I don't mean when you're announcing. I'm talking about when you are in your everyday life. It's almost distracting. It's hard to even hear what you're saying.
Well, I can't talk in a restaurant or in a hotel lobby. I'm just talking to my friends. Hey, what do you want to go? And I see 11 heads in the room turn around and look at me and say, "What is that freak voice over there?" And yeah, it's impossible to whisper.
Yeah, because when you did that, like, and now, ladies and gentlemen, Gladys Knight.
Try to whisper. Let me hear what that sounds like.
Well, there's no difference.
He's whispering now.
It's either whispering or whispering so you can't hear at all.
I kind of got into that, but I realized at a certain point, me just listening to the Howard Stern show on our own podcast is probably not in the rule book. But
But my point in all that was to say they, for some reason, at least the last 2 years, it seems like they haven't gone with just a deep voiced person. I think the idea of the announcer is kind of like one more little element of entertainment that they factor in, considering that it doesn't really matter that much. You're just saying the names of the people that are walking out to give the award or whatever, and then a few other sponsorship messages. Mm-hmm. And so this year they decided to go with our pal Matt Berry, who we love, of course, on this show and play so much audio of. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, I was going to play you a supercut of him saying people's names, but it's very hard to make out over the audio. So I'll just play you this. This was him talking to Conan. This was him being sort of introduced, I think maybe midway through the show. I don't know what the bit was, but Conan had walked out with a leaf blower and was blowing off the stage with a leaf blower. And then he did this.
The Oscars are an international event.
In that spirit, please welcome, live from London, our announcer, Matt Berry.
Thank you, Conan. It's a huge honor and a thrill to be here tonight.
Well, we're thrilled to have you, Matt. Who are you excited to see tonight?
Well, I've always been a fan of Benicio del Toro, Sigourney Weaver, and of course, Basil Rathbone.
Sorry to tell you, Matt, Basil Rathbone died almost 60 years ago.
Is that right? Well, that's live TV for you.
I like he's talking very stilted too.
It's because I think there was like a delay. Was he really in London? I don't know what the point of that was. Like,
I don't know.
Get him on a plane. Let's have him, in a sound booth. It seems like having your announcer, if that was true, and maybe someone will email in and clarify, maybe that was part of the bit because he's British. But it was a split screen. He was on a video screen. And it's like, if he was in London...
he probably does a lot of work in California, probably maybe that L.A. area. You'd think
feel like
get him in,
what we do in the shadows,
studio.
probably there was at least some amount of that was shot in California and his other projects. Also, it's the Oscars, budgets aren't what they used to be, but they could probably get him out to Los Angeles because, what if the ISDN line goes down, Andrew?
Yeah, right.
Our greatest fear. Your
exactly.
announcers I could see that where there's just some kind of technical snafu and, your announcer is literally like an ocean away. That seems, again, maybe that was part of the bit that he was supposed to be in London or something. Although he wasn't standing in front of Big Ben or anything. He was just in kind of a nondescript, looked like audio booth or something. But if they did that, I don't know why they did that. But anyway, I think a lot of people, particularly a lot of our fans probably who are watching the Oscars, got a big kick out of Matt Berry being associated with it.
You know who they should do next year is Flight of the Conchords, Jermaine Clement.
Oh, sure.
Jermaine.
He'd be great.
He'd be really good. He's one of those voices. I sometimes get him a little bit confused with Matt Berry because they both have very lyrical voices that people, they'll just show up in very interesting places. You're like, oh, of course, that voice.
Well, isn't he also, isn't Jermaine Clement in What We Do in the Shadows?
He was one of the creators of the movie, and I think he was in the movie,
okay.
But I don't think he was in the TV show.
Okay, gotcha.
I have not seen the movie yet. I actually have the movie on a hard drive. I've been meaning to watch it. Maybe I'll watch that on my upcoming flight because I've been meaning to watch that movie. Have you seen the original?
With Taika Waititi.
Yeah.
I think I saw the original. And I haven't watched the TV show, but people love the TV show.
Yeah,
too.
I've watched
people,
a lot of the
absolutely swear by
TV show. That's really good.
I'm a little right now tied up watching some show called Sounder or something. It's like my mom brought the DVD from the library. It's a show where basically this couple from Vancouver, BC moved to New Zealand to run some kind of a business, but the husband goes missing sort of, early on in the show, and we don't know if he's dead or faking his death or what's been going on, and it's just kind of your typical it's what's so weird about it is it's the kind of show that I would never ever watch if my mom didn't bring it over on DVD, and now I'm kind of into it.
Yeah, I like that though. I'm glad you said that last part because I like it, that. There's something about that. I wouldn't sit down and watch this myself, but it sort of presented itself, and now here we are, and I'm not hating it.
No, I'm kind of excited for tonight.
Like
Walt and I are I want to know what's going on with the people in this show. So, but every time this happens, then I lose ground on. I'm losing ground on DTF St. Louis. I'm losing ground on Neighbors, the show on HBO that I like, the reality show. There's another one that I can't even remember that I was getting into that I'm falling behind on. So, and all for a show on DVD from the Kitsap Public Library.
I love that. I got to tap into my public library. I've been hearing a lot more people talk about that recently. I just saw, again, over the weekend, somebody posted somewhere hey, if you miss going to Blockbuster, you might want to just check out your library. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean, Becca is big on the Libby app.
Uh-huh.
I'm
gets
reading
a book on Libby right now.
Tons of books, and then gets lots of audio books and stuff. I think the public library is where it's at.
Speaking of books, by the way, I wanted to tell you this. I told you that I spent way too much time, and I know it's going to be a disappointment spending way too much time putting too much research into like the book that I'm going to read on vacation. But like for me, going on vacation to a sunny place, I'm going to Hawaii pretty soon, is like it's just an excuse to be half in the pool, leaning out,
Half
like
in the bag.
half in the pool, half in the bag, reading
Half
a
in the
book, right? You know what I mean? And my move is to like be in the pool, but hanging on the edge of the pool, my arms out of the pool on the concrete, holding a book, right?
Yes.
And ideally holding a screwdriver as well. And I'm not talking about the tool. And so, I was telling you this on the show, and I'm sorry to be tedious here, but I'll reiterate that I really, really enjoyed that Pynchon book, Inherent Vice, that I read, which was a longer book. And some people say that, you know, there was a lot of things that I did have to sort of like kind of reference, like I had to go on there were a lot of like companion websites to kind of help explain some of the cultural references and how things are tied into his universe or whatever. But for the most part, like I just found it to be a very, very fun book that I kind of couldn't put down. And so that was the only thing I've ever read by him. And I was like, well, right now I'm just reading like a dime store novel that's actually quite bad. Well, I used to like reading just like, you know, kind of crappy, pulpy fiction like this, but it's just such a difference when you're reading a book by somebody who loves writing, you know what I mean, and is a good writer versus just like this trash that I'm reading right now. So anyway, I was like, well, what's going to be my next Pynchon book? Like, I don't want something that's too challenging, but I want to enjoy it by the pool. Like, is this even the right author? So I do a little bit of research. I'm like, okay, so I think I told you this on the show. It's the Crying of Lot 49 or whatever it's called. And I bought it online via I think it's, I want to say bookstore.org. It was like some cool site that actually supports local bookstores. You can choose a local bookstore, and then when you buy books from them, some of the proceeds actually support your local bookstores, even though you're buying them online. Nice. Very excited about that. The book came in the mail this weekend. I'm going to hold this up. Look how thin it is. This is like a novella. It's not even that small of print either. Like, I am a very slow reader, but
you're going to get through that far too quickly.
I may have gotten a vacation book. And again, I'm not complaining. Like, I'm actually glad that I bought this from the place that I bought it. It seemed like a cool place, and I'm going to buy more books from them. But it's another example of buying something online. I know the information was there. I could have looked at page count. It just didn't occur to me. But if I were at the, what's that little bookstore? I think it's been there forever, right off of the Ave in the University
Magus
District.
Books?
Yes, and I love going there.
Magus Books?
I think it's Magus, maybe, yeah. And if I were at Magus shopping for this, I would have seen this and said, "Oh, well, I'll get something else for the trip, and read this another time or something." It was just so it almost felt comedic when I pulled this out of my mailbox, because I was like, this box is too small. And then I pulled it out. I was like, well, this is another example of online shopping.
I've got an example of that too, Andrew, of a book that I bought online that I was exactly not what I wanted it to be, which was a listener, and I'm sorry I'm spacing on the name, but a listener had sent me a picture of this book by Art Bell. And the cover of it, I think that the book is called The Art of Talk. And it's got this great picture of Art Bell on the cover. And again, it's called The Art of Talk because his name is Art or whatever. And it just seemed like, first of all, I love Art Bell. Second of all, it just had like this incredible cover that I thought would be kind of funny to put up in the backdrop here at the Madrona Hill studio, just like an Art Bell book. And so I go find a place that's selling the book, and I buy the book. And Andrew, it shows up. It has no cover on it.
No, it's like one of those old school, like binded, like rebound books, right?
Yeah, and you can see on the spine it says The Art of Talk by Art Bell, but it doesn't have the main thing I wanted, which was the cover. Which, I mean, that's what I get.
Oh, I wonder if it doesn't. It probably had a sleeve originally. It's probably not rebound. It probably had a sleeve.
No. Yes, I think it had a cover on it that somebody stole because the cover was so cool looking. They sent me the book with no cover on it. All I wanted. I mean, this is what I get for literally buying a book for its cover. They say don't do that. But I just couldn't believe, because I also thought, I was like, I bought this from some, online bookseller, and I felt like I was being part of the solution of, pushing back on Amazon or whatever. And then it shows up and it doesn't have the one thing that I wanted it for, which was, and I don't know if you Google it, if it will, if you'll see what the cover was that I was looking for with this thing. So I think it actually has a few different covers, but I thought that was kind of funny that when it showed up, it was definitely not what I was expecting it to be, and is essentially useless to me now.
Well, I just want to shout out the service that I used was called bookshop.org. I think I said bookstore before, but it seems pretty good. And I think I've used them before. I'd heard good things. I think this service also was recommended by a 10, so thank you for that. And I will go back.
I'm looking at the cover of The Art of Talk that I was hoping to get, and it's
I'm looking for this.
It's like an airbrushed painting of Art Bell. And he's holding a lit cigarette and talking into a mic. And there's a
this is
UFO
not
behind him.
What I thought it was going to be. There's another one that's actually a photograph
he's
of
in
him
the
in the studio, but it's in color and he's leaning back a little bit. I think I like that one even more.
Maybe that's the one I wanted.
The airbrush one is a little bit.
You'd think I would remember. Maybe it was the photograph one. Whatever it was a listener who DM'd me on Instagram and said, look at how crazy this book is. Isn't this awesome? And I was like, that is awesome. Then I went right around and bought it and then managed to buy one that didn't have a cover on it.
That is rough. No, the one with the photo is awesome. You see his little board in the background. It looks like he's almost got a home studio long before everybody else did. But I guess that was his thing, right? He did it out of
literally,
his home.
in his double wide in Pahrump, where he could control everything. Wild card line, west of the Rockies, Robin.
No screener. By the way, this is very off topic, but I assume we're wrapping up now and maybe even knocking on the door of some Badland action. Consider this Badland. But speaking of plays on words involving people named Art, one of my earliest Browns memories was, and I remember this stuck in my brain, and I think I remember it because it seemed shocking to me at the time. I didn't know that you could do this, and maybe this led to an adulthood where I feel how I feel about money suppressing speech. But I remember somebody getting kicked out of Cleveland Browns Stadium. I was watching it on television, but I was watching a Browns game when Art Modell still owned the team and before he had taken it out of Cleveland, but everybody hated him and the Browns were terrible and he mismanaged everything. And I remember somebody held up a giant banner in the crowd that said losing is a work of art. And I remember being a kid and thinking that was really funny wordplay. And then thugs came and took down the sign and I think ejected the guy. And I remember feeling like it was such a miscarriage of justice.
No, I mean, that's really genius on multiple levels.
Yeah,
honestly.
right.
That's really smart. I mean, don't take this the wrong way, but from a Browns fan.
Yeah.
I don't know what NFL fan base I expect to be deploying the best wordplay, but I don't know if that was a roasting. Well, listen, you mean from the people that brought you a guy in a dog mask?
I am not
throwing batteries.
Well, this, unfortunately, my take on this affects one of your beloved teams as well, but I have always, ever since I was a kid.
Don't you dare.
And this time only speaking of it as the Cleveland Browns thing, but referring to the team as the Dogs and spelling it DAWG is one of my least favorite things. And unfortunately,
I don't love it either, by the way.
It applies to the UW. Now, here's the one thing that makes more sense. First of all, the Cleveland Browns have nothing to do with dogs. Them just inventing this thing called the dog pound and then spelling it in that atrocious way.
Oh, I don't think I realized that it was also spelled DAWG for the dog pound in Cleveland.
Indeed it is. And I don't like that. At least with the UW, the argument is, well, it has a W in it because Washington, the UW, it's kind of part of our brand. But I don't, there's something about just spelling dog that way just harkens back to an era of if you're not the lead dog, enjoy the view or whatever.
It never changes.
You know what I mean? Stay on the porch. All of that. It sets my teeth on edge still. But I'm not a big fan of the DAWG.
You've given me though some
dogs.
ammo. Actually, that's really. You've given me some ammo, which is helpful. A friend of mine, Kara, is a crazed University of Georgia fan because she went to the University of Georgia, and they also call themselves the Dogs, and they spell it the same way, the DAW. They do, and I've always been well, aren't we that or something? But Andrew, I'm 49 years old. I went to the University of Washington. I don't think I really put it together that the spelling it DAWGS is, well, you could at least say that Washington is part of that. It's W. You can't say that with Georgia. Like, in other words, I feel like this
am I
gives
even
me...
right about that? I think I'm just saying something that Genevieve has said to me when I have made this argument to her. I'm just kind of like, first of all, and again, now I'm not trying to hurt feelings, for real. Like, you and your family have supported some of my weird choices in sports fandom, and so I feel like I owe you guys the respect of at least not talking down about Huskies culture, but the bow down thing, I really don't like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of that kind of stuff that, like, is probably not my favorite, and also, like, I'm not even... Here's the thing, and maybe this is different. It's weird. We're really in the Badlands now, if I'm talking, That's right. Oh, it's... believe you me, sir, it's at the ready. Down Badland. Go Huskies! Dogs. I think because of how weird college sports have gotten to me, just the realignment of everything, literally the realignment of the conferences, and the fact that they're the NIL deals and all this money now, which, again, I think that players should get paid, so I don't have a problem with it. It's just... I'm so disconnected from college sports and particularly college football. I mean, I grew up listening to every single Husky game on the radio, and then occasionally when they'd be on national TV and on regular network television, always watching that too if we had a TV at the time. And I just cared so much about it, and I probably would have if everything would have stayed the same, and if also my personality would have been like, I go to the games, I sailgate, I still care about Husky football the way I used to, I'd probably be defending Bow Down to Washington or Dogs or Sun Dodger. Although I don't think the mascot is named Sun Dodger anymore. I forget what the particular Husky is named.
His name is, I'm supposed to, wait, hold on. I know this, Luke. His name is Dubs.
Dubs. Well, there you go. Like, it's weird for somebody who went to that university and who does, when the Huskies are good, I will definitely watch the games. And on a Saturday, if it's on TV, I'll watch them. But like, it's weird. I just don't have the energy to try to defend any of the bullshit. Like, I just don't care enough about college sports to be like, well, here's why Bow Down to Washington doesn't suck, Andrew.
Right.
Like, I don't have it in me.
No.
I could probably get that up for some Mariner conversations or some Seahawk conversations or things that like really do kind of like take up a lot of my bandwidth. But for whatever reason, and again, as a person who I was obsessed with Husky sports when I was a kid growing up in Seattle, like every Husky game was an event for me, every football game that is. Every Husky basketball game, I would listen to Bob Rondo on the radio. He called the football games and the basketball games. Like, so somehow in all of that, and then in going to the college or the university and then graduating, I did not become one of those people that still identify super strongly with their college sport thing, where there's tons of them. You go to Husky Stadium, you see a lot of people. It's their whole social life. Again, they do the sailgating, they do all of it. I'm just not one of those people for some reason.
That's probably for the best, honestly.
I got enough bad sports obsessions that cloud my judgment. I don't need another one.
I am so glad that I remembered Dubs on the fly there. It doesn't really matter, and it's not as widespread of a thing, but like this is so dumb. I should admit this, but like I had some, I wouldn't say intrusive thoughts because they weren't the kind that were like really poisonous but it really drove me crazy that you and I could not think of Bryce Miller the other day. I'm sorry. Well, this is the thing. Bryce Harper. I can't remember exactly how it came up in conversation, but all I remember was like, what's that guy's name? And all I had in my head was Bryce Miller. And because Bryce Miller was in my head, we couldn't think of the word Bryce Harper, one of the biggest names in baseball, especially even going, I would say a few years ago.
Probably top 10. Yeah, you're right.
I would say especially a few years ago when there was a dearth of any names in
no
baseball.
Ryan Court.
It was Harper and Trout, right? Like those were the guys. And like, and again, like I don't know what percentage of our audience knew it right away and then kept thinking these guys are boneheads, or which part of the audience didn't know the answer anyway. But like,
probably our listeners in DC
and Philly, and we have a very vocal Philly listener who will text me a lot. But anyway, and so I was just like, and again, nobody gave me a hard time about it. Nobody wrote in and be like, really? But I felt so exposed.
Oh, I'm sorry, Andrew.
No, not. I mean, I'm not blaming you. It was just like that's why I'm very glad that we can end this show, which I assume that we're doing here, without me being like, how did I not know that was Dubs? I know it's Dubs.
We got Dubs. We got your ability to remember mascots is this. By the way, someday when we're even further in the Badlands, difficult. Someday when we're further in the Badlands, I want to talk about the fact that I don't think that you view your sports fandom through mascots. I don't think you do that, but I do think that you think more about uniforms.
Oh yeah,
and
unis
than any sports fan I know. Like
uniforms or mascots? Because unis, I would put
uniforms.
Is
Durs a big on
I
that?
am a mere child.
Really?
I for years tried to get our two friends, Durs and Nick Jarin, two of the biggest unis heads that I know. They would come over, watch games with us, and have these wonderful conversations about uniforms, like going like historical context. And I was like, guys, I will produce your podcast. Like, it was not a joke. I was like, you guys need to put this down. And now, of course, it's a little bit. I think that space has now been taken by UniWatch and some of these other outfits. But like, I appreciate the compliment. I love talking about and thinking about uniforms, but I'm a mere babe in the woods, I'm afraid.
Well, I don't even know where I'm a zygote then, because I just don't. It's not probably because I don't wear a lot of team apparel. It's probably just something that's not front of mind for me. But anyway, we were talking about WBC and you were talking about the Mexico uniforms and all that. It had me thinking. But okay,
did you see that the Czech uniforms were sweet, by the way? The
really?
Czech uniforms, they looked a little bit like those old steelhead uniforms that the Mariners are bringing back this year, like white with just like block letters, like very Eastern European.
I'm going to check those out.
Yeah, he said it with a Z.
End on a W.
Nice.
Hey, Andrew, you know what? Let's end on a dub.
Oh, love it. Sorry, I just killed the music accidentally.
Thanks for listening, everybody. That's going to do it for today, but we will be right back here with a more imaginary radio for you tomorrow. So please join us for that. In the meantime, have a great Monday. Take care of yourselves. Go Huskies. And please remember, go Dogs. And please remember, no mountain too tall.
Good luck to all. I won't say it.
Power out.